Okay, it looks like we've got quite a few attendees now. Let's go ahead and kick this off and get started. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to do a live demo of Wireless Window, which I think is going to be very exciting. Our webinar, Visibility from SIMs to Sites in Modern Wireless, is going to focus on how enterprises can use this technology to really have a single pane of glass into their SIMs and analytics and all of the other things that they need to see on a regular basis across carriers. Um, just to go over the agenda for today. Oh, I apologize. One more. Let's back up for a second. Our speakers today are going to be Scott Sharples, Senior RCD from the West. Also joining us is VP of Product and Development, Angela Halsey. And we have a special guest from Intellis, Brett Smith, Senior Director, who is going to speak a little bit to the partner and customer side of how Wireless Window can be used. Now onto the agenda. Scott is going to cover the gold standard in wireless. We're going to speak a little bit about the benefits of Wireless Window. We are going to hear from Brett and Scott on customer stories, real-world examples of how customers are using Wireless Window. Angela is going to go through the demo for us so you can see all of the features and benefits, and then we will take all of your questions. So as we're going through the webinar, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in Q&A and we will answer them at the end. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Scott.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon, and thanks everybody for joining. It's an honor to be on this call today with a couple of my favorite people. It's always good to get Angela in front of customers and partners. She's a wealth of information in our organization. I've been here almost 5 years, and she's definitely been here longer than that and been influential in a lot of good things that we do. And Brett Smith happens to be one of my favorite partners, and too many good things to say about Brett. But let's go to the gold standard. This is going to be a different take on the gold standard today from me. I could talk about every one of these squares for 30 minutes. I could talk about it ad nauseum. Um, the power of wireless is incredible, and we're just scratching the surface in a new era of 5G. We're looking at different ways to deploy, which is going to come up on this call today. So we're extremely good at engineering outcomes for each end user in each location. And that's really what we do really, really well. But we do it by providing everything on this list, the next day connectivity if needed, standard 5 to 7 day deployment, best carrier selection. We're going to cover that in a little bit on the call. Direct carrier SIM. There's a lot of noise about multi-carrier SIM, virtual SIM. We have a multi-carrier SIM for mobility and IoT, but we still know by testing that direct carrier SIM is still the best application for a fixed location, which is what most of our customers are: fixed location, backup, temporary, primary. Enterprise account management is undervalued, and we don't talk about it enough. But we have an incredible customer success team that works hand in hand. Brett knows them all too well. Brett is one of the deeper partners that I have, and that's why it's an honor to hear him talk today about the view of the customer and the partner, because Brett does both, different than most people that I work with. Cross-carrier pooling is super, super powerful when you can take data from different carriers, pool it together to get that end user experience for each end user while looking out holistically for a medium to large enterprise customer. One thing that we're going to highlight today on our customer stories is a SIM-only deployment where we're providing the SIMs, and that's really one of the drivers for the reason of this webinar. The topic of this webinar today is Wireless Window. And Wireless Window is a SIM visibility and management platform that we've been developing for since before I got here. Angela's been working on that. Many drivers that put us in that direction and pointed us that direction. We learned, we failed, we tried. There's things that, we had to evolve. Now we have a lot more control. We control more of the development and helping to develop that to customer and partner needs when they share with us what they're looking for. But our SIM management platform provides us usage predictability, anomaly detection, and alerting. It helps us manage to what we value high as a no overage policy. We want to manage your data with you and with our partners, and our customers to make sure that they're not surprised by something they get on their bill. So we really manage at a high level to a no overage policy, um, up to and including changing plans at the 27th or 28th of the month to backdate it, to right size a plan, and then revert to the original plan the first of the next month without impacting the term of the agreement. So a lot of cool stuff that we do there. Um, for today's benefit, I do want to talk about and tee up Brett a little bit because one of Brett's use cases today wasn't an easy deployment, and the other one was a little bit challenging, but we worked through some things in the beginning and got to where things are working really, really well. So, um, I've been in this business a while. I've worked with a lot of partners and done a lot of things, but um, in working with one of Brett's logos today, Brett, when I met him, we managed an account. Brett, I think you're okay. So we managed an account called Forterra Pipe, right? Small concrete batch plant, pavers, that kind of thing. Remote facilities, hard to reach for wireline services, sometimes challenging for wireless. This has evolved over the years, but it couldn't have evolved without Brett's ability to ingrain himself as an extension, a true extension of the customer's team, to be able to be a partner that could get up market in an acquisition. And we don't see that often enough. When there's an acquisition, usually the 1,000-pound gorilla comes in and says, "This is the way we're going to do it," and anybody involved in the acquisition layer below is washed out, right? In this case, Brett was able to get up market with Quikrete and really earn their trust. And in the beginning, we were deploying routers. They wanted to clean up their hardware stack, and they decided they wanted us to deploy some SIM cards in their Velo Cloud, right? Brett's very involved in their Velo Cloud, looking in the routers, looking at their data, deep into helping them make educated decisions for their business. But in this deployment, we had Velo Cloud SIM only deployment. If it wasn't working well enough, we got outside of our box a little bit, put an external antenna on the Velo Cloud to get outside. If that didn't meet their SLA, we would go to a bonded solution or a bundled solution with like a PepLink router or something along that lines. If we got good enough there and met their SLAs, we were fine. If not, we're moving and shipping a 5G box around the country to test out and do some things, and eventually evolved into Starlink. And Starlink is deployed at some of these solutions, some of these locations where we just couldn't get wireless. And that's really what Starlink does for an Epic IO partner or customer. We really took it on as a way to improve the gold standard, to fill a gap there technology wise. And Brett's been able to do that with this customer. But to go from SIM only to a bundled solution to a Starlink across their enterprise, again, it wouldn't have happened if Brett didn't get up market with them. Um, the other customer that we're going to talk about today, I believe, is Club also SIM only, Brett?
Yeah, they're only into their Meraki's. Yeah.
Into their Meraki's. So they're SIM only into their Meraki's. Um, Brett also gave us great kudos last week on LinkedIn. They're using a couple of hotspots. Not a lot of people know that we do hotspots or provide hotspots, but they used a couple of hotspots last week at a channel favorable event at the Waste Management Open, and were able to use our hotspots to power their club gripping station that they had out there on the fifth fairway. But with that, there's a lot of things that we do. If you have any wireless deployments out there where, I'll be the first person to say it's not easy. Angela will be the first one to say we learn by failure sometimes. Wireless isn't easy, but I don't think there's anybody in the channel that engineers each location for success better than Epic IO. We'll go head to head on POCs. We'll do whatever we need to do to help customers be in better places. I do want to cover this really quick. And this is a tool that we use. We use a lot of different tools to provision, to be able to set each location up for success. If we get a list of locations that has 50 or 100 locations, they're never the same carrier. Our provisioning team has to, as part of our process, run each location through this tool that shows us the crowdsourced data, real time, upload speed, download speed, and latency by location, by carrier, so that when that router leaves our warehouse, or if it's SIM only, we ship out the best two carriers for each and every location. And that really is something that when I started here 5 years ago, we had three support technicians. They provisioned routers, they shipped out routers, and they were first line of defense when people called in. So they really put a lot of effort into provisioning the routers as best as we can to minimize the calls that happen after the sale. And that has to do with protecting the partner's brand and protecting the partner's time after the sale. Those are a couple of things that I talk about a lot. You can go to the next slide, Shannon. This is the 5G version. That was the 4G version. As you can see at the bottom, at the end, we have recommendations of carrier by address. Wireless can be fickle. I have a 35 unit senior living community that they're on the same property, 35 buildings, and each carrier is primary and each carrier is secondary at some point in that complex. Just to know how fickle wireless can be and how detailed we need to get to make sure each location is provisioned for success. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Brett to share a little bit of insight on a couple of use cases, a couple of customer stories, and maybe just share what he likes about working with Epic.io because I love the voice of him from a partner and a customer perspective.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate the kind words. And great to see a great participant list out there. There's a few names I recognize, so I appreciate everybody joining. I want to start out by saying one of the reasons why I'm on this call and I love evangelizing the Epic.io story is because from top to bottom, I mean, Scott's my front line, but I've met many team members, part of the Epic.io, and from top to bottom, they match like the passion and the desire to deliver to my customers. And I think sometimes that's really difficult to find from a supplier standpoint. On the front side, kind of everybody wants the sale, get the revenue on the books, and then getting somebody to stand behind it and get escalation when you need it is a little bit difficult. That's the rule from my standpoint with Epic.io is that they show up, they get creative, they deliver, and that's why I'm here today is not only to tell the story of some of my customers and their experience, but really to evangelize what Epic.io has done for me and my customer and their end users. So it's a great partnership. I encourage everybody, if you haven't used them, to try them out. Scott hit on each of these. They're two of my longest tenured customers, and we do a little bit of everything for them. So at Entellus, we kind of go deep and wide from ISP to voice to data center to cloud to security to just about anything we can help them out with. Quikrete has about 700 locations, as you might guess. They're in the sand and gravel and rock environment. You guys are probably familiar with their yellow bags at Home Depot or Lowe's, and they like dual ISP active environments at every single location into their SD-WAN Velo environment. As you might guess, it's extremely difficult to find a single ISP at some of their gravel plants or sand plants. And so when I'm trying to find dual ISPs, I almost always have to fail over to some sort of wireless solution. And so, as Scott mentioned, sometimes we do SIM only into their Velo. We'll do SIM only with an external antenna. Occasionally, we'll put in an external PEPWave or a cradle point in order to try and get a 5G connection. And then in some unique scenarios, we've gone ahead and put Starlink antennas on top of the roofs. And so this was, I think, the customer that we kind of started with, Scott, as you might have said. And so it was really great to be able to go to Scott and to the team and say, hey, this SIM only isn't working. What would we do next? And they would even go to a level with their engineering and their tech team that we would get into the SIM. We would look at the Verizon tower. We'd look at the AT&T tower. We'd test signals. We'd look at strength. And so we really knew what was going on other than just looking at like some sort of bars meter on a Velo device or, a signal meter, which doesn't really tell a true story as what's going on. And so that's a perfect example of the team from top to bottom jumping in and helping out. Club Champion's a little bit more structured environment. If you're familiar with them, they're a custom-based club fitting company, primarily in the NFL cities. So the SIM only into their Meraki device works fantastic. The usage for them is a challenge. And so I know this is a wireless window conversation. That originated, I honestly think I played a little bit of a part in the wireless window showing up, is because when we started out, I'd be like, guys, I need to know what's the IMEI number or what's the SIM number. And if you've ever tried to get a retail retail employee at one of your customers pull a SIM from a router and read the number to you and then be able to get it back into the device without screwing it up. It's a tremendous challenge. And so I don't know if that kind of launched it, but wireless window is this relatively simple concept, but so valuable in being able to go in and see site names, site addresses, the IMEI associated with it. Who's the carrier that we've got there? What was the backup SIM that we deployed at that location if we need to switch over to the backup carrier? It's now evolving to where we're going to be able to pull invoices out of there. I don't know if it's there yet, but that's coming down the road. Activations are going to be there. And so it makes something that used to be a royal challenge, to put it lightly, to try and gather information or figure out what's going on, to be able to just simply log into the portal for both me and the customer, see what I have. Usage reports are great. Alerts. So if I'm trending towards overage charges, the wireless window can alert me with an email, and we can find out if maybe the site has defaulted over to the wireless side, failed to be switched back over. Maybe somebody's streaming YouTube or Spotify on the guest Wi-Fi. You never know what happens. And Wireless Window does a great job of providing you with the details that you need and the alerts that you need. And so it's great. It's great. The organization's fantastic. The Wireless Window makes my job a lot easier. And so that's my quick case study customer story for you guys. Hopefully y'all found it very valuable.
These customer stories are not uncommon to what we see on a regular basis, right? We have the biggest value that we've seen so far with Wireless Window is customers that are into their data, that want to know what's going on with their data, that want to see what's happening in the field. And they have people in offices looking at traditionally today either NetCloud with their Cradlepoint portal or In Control with their Peplink portal, or in Brett's case, getting all too familiar with the Meraki portal or a Velo portal to be able to see what's going on at their locations. And in our demos with this product, it's not uncommon for somebody to say, this is exactly what I need to manage my data. And, this German multinational company did that. This is exactly what I need to manage my data. If you can get close on the data price, we're in. Let's get this going. Another customer managing multiple SIMs across multiple wireless carriers. Again, this is something that we see on the regular basis. People try wireless internet and they think, oh, this must be how it is. They don't know that there's different ways to deploy wireless. I can tell you from my early days in working with Angela on this, some of our struggles were we were a Cradlepoint shop and people were in NetCloud, and then we'd go, oh, this location could really use a Peplink, but we didn't want to put a customer in two different routers and make them go to two different portals. So we keep them in the same router. And that was really one of the early drivers for us. Angela might talk a little bit more about that, but the drivers for us have been being able to put that single pane of glass in front of customers to help them make real-time educated decisions for their business and to provide that, to Brett's point, a simple visibility, a simple usable platform to pull that data from. So we have many use cases with customers. We have many customer stories with this product. We're seeing a huge interest, especially in the enterprise space, where they may deploy in their own routers, or they're deploying multiple carriers and they don't have access to the data. Could be in multiple hardware, multiple touch points for the customer to go out and source their data. So with that being said, Shannon, if you want to go on to the next slide. Wireless Window, again, it has the ability to give you complete SIM oversight, eliminate your overages. Our company talks a lot about a no overage policy. That doesn't mean customers don't use too much data. That means we work with people like Brett and his team on a monthly basis to put the customer on the right plan before they get their bill, before they get hit on the 20th of next month and figure out they're using data. It has the ability to proactively provide anomaly detection, see what's not working right within their carriers and being aggregated together. And then real-time alerting is just priceless when you're talking about managing a customer experience and providing them the best experience that we can in the wireless industry. Real-time alerting is very pivotal for that. And as Brett mentioned, a few of us ping Angela regularly with what's coming next. By the way, can we add this? Can we add that? So Angela will stick very true to what's here today and show you that in a live demo, but she'll also share some glimpses into our roadmap as part of this webinar as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Angela for a few minutes and look forward to seeing this demo myself.
Thanks, Scott. As we navigate into the live, give me just a second. Are we there?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well, just to circle back on Scott and Brett, I now have it written down that we will rename it Wireless Brett Window for his contributions of putting the beta together. He was an intricate part of doing the first launch of the beta once we finally brought it in-house and dealt with it. So it's partners like that we love the feedback from. We would run things through, and he currently knows now the streamlined process of going through Scott or his customer success manager in order to get to the product part of it and say, hey, these would be nice enhancements. These are things I think that my customer is going to need, or me as an end user, that's what I need. I like to tell a little bit of the story about it being birthed. I mean, both Brett and Scott touched on it, but we just had so much disjointment, as Scott said, between routers and different carriers and everybody. The feedback we got from our partners was, how do we get our customers without of having to go strictly to a Verizon portal or AT&T portal or T-Mo portal, or again, whatever router they're using portal, and really consolidate this. I had people bring invoices to me about what they would see. And so we would go through their invoices and it would be per number line. And when they were using it for data, so they didn't even really know the phone number that was attached to the data. But as Brett said, there was no ICC ID that showed, and they weren't getting the bills till after month end. So they didn't even know where they were during the month about visibility and usage. And they had no way to go back and contest what the usage was other than to go into their router platform to see what spiked that day and get down. So really, what we did was we initially had a independent company come in. We started writing some software. It got really big, and we just couldn't figure out how to get all the data aggregated, because our special sauce is that we're a data aggregator, and so and our data management for it. Then the other complaint is that, okay, well, this isn't moving quick enough and we can't get the widgets and the usage that we need. So we tried to use a third-party company, and they started building it for us because that's their background. We still couldn't get it to what was needed for our customers. We put that in flight. We got feedback. We're like, that's still not what we need. We just didn't want to put something out there. So then, essentially last year, we finally brought it in-house and we just dedicated developers to it. We already had the vision. We already had the scope. We knew what was supposed to be there. So we launched MVP about a year ago, and we've just been iterating with feedback ever since. So I will start here with the basics of the demo. There's some intricacies here. I'll go back to the roadmap Scott alluded to. And Brett did touch on the fact that there's some things coming on the roadmap, like invoicing, paying bill, and ordering and deactivating SIMs. That's because I gave him a little insider look yesterday, and he knows that they're there. We're just doing some validation and testing on those right now. So we're excited to be able to share those. Those are for enterprise. Those are two of the largest requests that have been made. So we're excited to be able to launch those. Okay, so I'm already in WirelessWindow. It's just wirelesswindow.epicio.com. I am in our shell account, so I just wanted to make sure I got in there so I didn't expose any sensitive data to anybody before I got there. So you'll come to a multi-factor authentication page when it comes on, which you can turn on or turn off. That was one of the biggest asks that we didn't have when we rolled it out, but our financial institutions and a couple other security wanted to make sure they had it and they can integrate it. So it's up here in my profile. You can do multi-factor authentication. I don't have any on in this profile, but you can do SMS, email, and authenticator app, or just one. The nice thing that we just changed there was that you can force them to profiles within your organization if that's what you need. So that was another ask for us. Everybody comes into the dashboard, and this is the dashboard overview, no matter what account that you're in. These are just quick clicks to get to your SIMs, and they really just take you to the navigation pane on the left-hand side. Everything we show in here is active. So it's active. There's 622 active SIMs, 569 pieces of hardware, because some of those are active SIMs. And so there's only one piece of hardware to go for two. Sites, 567. The sites are the sites are information that you give us. So we do not have GPS enabled location on our sites. And that's because 90% of our customers either have not at a physical location, maybe they're mobile, maybe they use a headquarters for an address and all the SIMs and devices that are sent there, and then they deploy them out. So these really are the information that our customers give us to what they want to denote what the site is on where the hardware or the SIM is deployed. So that's just a little bit different. We are adding in the GPS location to where the actual physical SIM is at that point as well. Data pools are just easy groups. So for me, there's only one data pool for quantum tech dynamics. It will grow when we get into the hierarchy or the partner hierarchy. There'll be multiple data pools because you'll be able to see all your individual customers if they give you access. So that's what comes through. That one was a little bit birthed from Brett when we first started this, because he, as Scott was saying, he is deep and wide into his customers. And he goes in and he looks at multiple customers at a time. So we'll be able to give our partners one view to oversee all their customers. So that's on the roadmap. That's in flight right now. And then notifications. This just tells you if there's anything critical or urgent, neither one of these. So they're just going to be regular notifications. Here we have a knowledge base that tells you what each of these means. So there's definitions, there's way to use them, there's tutorials on how to set things up. Is an independent page, so I'm not going to click on it right now. Oh, and the other thing is we did add dark mode recently. So we went to dark mode and light mode. Brett and I had the discussion yesterday that I like white mode, so does he. But most of my developers work in dark mode, so they can see that little code when they work. And that's one of the larger requests too, is dark mode. So down here we have pooled, non-pooled, and sites. Again, this is aggregated data. It doesn't matter what carrier it is. It just means all the SIMs that you have on your account. So anything that's in a pooled plan will show up here. Anything that's in a non-pooled plan shows up separately, which means that it's typically our non-pooled is a business optimization plan or an unlimited plan. Or you can quick search by sites. So here, if you know quickly what site you're looking for, I need all my sites in Portland, those will show up. So these are just quick buttons. Just to go back real quick. So pooled, what we have here is just a quick graph. So month to date usage shows here on the top line. That's actually aggregated data that's been used across all your sites that are in here through Epic.io. So that's the usage. Allowance dictates what your contracted data allowance is. So if without non-pooled. So we're in the pooled. So your contracted pooled data allowance would be $3,121 a month. So with that could be 2 gig plans, that could be 50 gig plans on some SIMs. It doesn't matter. This is your pool to move across your SIMs. And then it shows here forecasted data usage. What we do is use a basic algorithm of this. There's this many days in the month. This is what they've used so far. And this is what we project they use. That's how you can stop some of the overages that come. You can set up notifications for these, letting you know when you get close to your allowance cap, send you a notification, let you know, and then you can up the overage so you don't, or you can up the data allowance so you don't get the overage bill. The nice thing about this is if you come down here and you look, these are all your SIMs showing month to month. So this is the last 12 months of what your portfolio has performed. You can go to a daily. And what's really nice about the daily is, let me see if I can find a larger spike here. So here is, if you have what I like to call as a runaway SIM, you can say, okay, I can see that on this date, the daily usage really spiked. So what I'm going to do is when I go into my SIM management, we'll get there. I'm going to look on this day and I'm going to see which SIM spiked. And then I can either go into my router portal and see, again, back to what Brett said, was Wi-Fi turned on? Did public access happen? Or do I need to go back and talk to my, my terrestrial partner that is going down all the time and my failover goes back and I need to make some changes there. So it gives you some insights into, smart decision-making of running your operations. So that's just a quick overview to go into these pieces. Let me see. No. Okay, so same for non-pooled. You can do the exact same things, figure out where your daily happened in your pool for your non-pooled sites. This is the mock account. So typically all your non-pooled sims will be down here. We just don't have that updated right now because the data has to be refreshed. Okay. Anything, Scott? You look like maybe you're going to chime in. You need me to? Okay, good.
Nope, I'm good.
Then to quickly go, so then you can pull reports. In here, you can see we pull usage reports frequently. So you can schedule new reports. So within your reports, you can give it a name. I just want to show you what's in the drop down. I won't run one right this second, but report type. You can get usage, SIM, or hardware reports. So I'll open one and show you what's on those lines. And then you can set reoccurrence. Pull it right now. I want to see it daily, weekly, or monthly, and do as you want with it. The only one we have right now is an Excel for it to convert. The nice thing is that once the report is pulled, you can go over here and somebody doesn't have to have a wireless window login. So if you have people within an organization or somebody that you want to send it to, you can share. So if there's somebody in a finance department that wants to say, I need to reconcile what our usage is here. I have particular people who, are in charge of watching finances in a particular area or on particular sims. And so you can share that with them. You don't even have to download it, send it straight to them. You can download it from here. I'll just open this one real quick, make sure something's not going to take forever.
No, these reports, just as I use the report tab quite frequently, and they generate in minutes. So typically I submit, schedule the report and I'll do immediately, and they typically show up in 5 to 10 minutes. And just log back into the portal, download it, and can start to dive in on who the abusers are from a usage standpoint or what have you. So the reporting tab is real valuable to me.
Just to show you what kind of contents are in that reporting tab. Just to show you, I pulled the pool sim data. So you can see it across here. You can see the billing site name, your data plan, the data allowance for their month to date usage. And this is all on the sim site. I'll show you those pieces too. Your estimated overages, what's coming through there. It's a great tool for your operations to reconcile what's being used as well. So it can fit many different personas within your company for what they need. So just quickly go past that. We have notifications here. This is where notifications come in. If there's any changes to a user profile, they come in here. All notifications of online, offline routers, and we'll get there. I'll show you. They all come into here. They'll send you notifications. And then your overage and your high usage reports, those will send you an email as well to go through there. That's Brett and I talked yesterday, and that's the way he uses it, is to get the emails. So notifications all consolidated here. You can see what kind of notifications they send for your hardware, for your sims, if something's been activated, deactivated, if you got high usage, that all comes in here as well. So this would be your sim management page. This is where we would start. Everything defaults to 10. Let's just look a little bit larger here. So this is where you can come in at any point in time and see what's going on with the sim. Now, our data comes in via carriers and our hardware portals via API, so it's the most up-to-date information you can get. I like to put the clause on the SIMs because we all understand the way that carriers work. And sometimes what gets us is they will push out data that then they need to pull back. And so after you've already seen that data as an end user or as a partner, and sometimes it's hundreds of gigs off what they push out, we give them 24 to 48 hours to roll that back. So we always say there's a cushion. We give you the most up-to-date that we can, but there's a cushion that sometimes the carriers will roll back. Usually that's always resolved by end of month before month end closes. So that's nice because, like I said, all three carriers up to date. That's pretty big to show your pool aggregation and where you're at for your usage. So what we have here is obviously your site, like we talked about. That's the information you give us, the straight ICC ID that comes from straight from your SIM. Same for the MISDN. And then your product type is the contract that you have with us. Is it pooled or non-pool? Every single one of these is sortable. So you can sort it by business optimization plan, pooled, however you want to do that. Just if you want to sort by a column, they all follow to go with it. Where I like to use this one or tell people go straight to, if you see that dashboard overview and it says that you have runaway sims, or, oh my gosh, why did we have a massive spike this month or daily today? I see that we had, that's a 2 gig sim and we've used 40 gigs on it. You quickly can come here. This is up to date. You sort this. Oh my gosh, there's a 0 data allowance on this. That's because we have it in pooled, but it's used 773 gigs of my pool. And you can say, oh, what's wrong with that? So if you click on this, this will then take you directly into the site info of where it's at, your SIM info. So you immediately know what the information is for this particular SIM. So this SIM has used this. So you can go, okay, well, that's not right. What's my daily? Oh, I can see I had a massive spike for my daily. This will show out of control. Usually these are really low and the other ones are high. And then you have which hardware it's attached to and which platform. Again, this comes via the API, comes straight for our NCM instance. For you that are familiar with Cradlepoint, that's where it comes. And then it'll show you if it's in a group, and we'll go over groups here in a moment. So you go through all these pieces. It'll tell you here if it's in a group. It'll tell you if you have unread notifications on this particular SIM or a particular piece of hardware. We also have filters. So this is really good for operations. If operations says, man, I got this SIM, I don't actually know where it's located, but they have a SIM number. They can go right in here. It's global for this page. And you go in and you say apply filters and you called out your SIM. You don't have to look through your 500 SIMs. You don't have to look for a report. You can go in and say, oh, okay, that's where this site is. I have this ICID. I can now do my audit to match up where things are at. It's really good for security purposes to make sure that your ICCID is on the same file what you have for where your site is. So we're learning that with security. That's important for them. And then it's correctly, with the correct, it's correctly noted with the right hardware. So that's some of the pieces. And then you can also add notifications to this. This is some of what Brett and I were talking about. So I like to tell people, if you have a runaway SIM, if you don't necessarily want it on your every single SIM, you can go in here and you can say, I really want an urgent notification, which if you go up into the knowledge base, it'll tell you how often urgent is. So urgent is once a day. You'll get a once a day text or a once a day email or both that lets you know, hey, there's still a problem here. Critical comes twice a day. Let you know all up until the end of the month changes. You save that notification, it'll send you notifications on that. I think that's a very important part while you're watching SIMs and what they're doing. And whoever that person is within, whether that's an operations or a finance person or just a technology person trying to understand what's going on with hardware. I think it's a tell sign for hardware too, and when those usages spike. Did you have something, Brett?
Nope.
Okay.
I like those options. Some customers are a little more sensitive to overages. And so you can set the alerts at 50% so that you can kind of get ahead of them and have a chance to manage them. Whereas others just kind of want to know about them when they happen. And so you could set it more to 100% or a later notification. So it seems a little bit, irrelevant, but it's real important based off of your customers' tolerance for pain from an overage standpoint, so that's a real nice feature.
You can also export data, which I'll just go over that in this page, but this is on every page. So you can export data immediately into an Excel sheet as well. And then you can do whatever you need to do your checks. You can add columns to look at here too. We just minimize. These are the standard 8. And then you got to clear filters every time after. You can share straight from there, like I was saying before as well. Okay, then we'll go into the hardware page. So the hardware page shows, just like we were saying, this is, again, API'd into the hardware that we offer. So this really goes to our managed services. We do have some things on the roadmap that will allow you to bring in your own hardware, and that's a customization. So again, Brett shared about Meraki, being one that is not currently one that's on our radar, but we have the plans and the know-how to, integrate people's hardware. It will do that for enterprise, right? And the more that we hear about, hey, we really need this, we just integrated Inseego. They're a new partner of ours. We're using their routers. They got top-notch enterprise routers that they're using, and we've now integrated them into our information and our platform. So for hardware here, it shows you the site. Again, that's the site in which you've given us the information, let you know whether it's online, offline status, which platform we're pulling that from, and then obviously your router type or your router name. Let you know what firmware version it's on, the MAC address, serial number. So all this is exportable data too. So you don't even, so for me, this is where IT comes in too, that they don't even have to keep track of these things themselves. For an auditor, you can just come and pull this. You can know where your stuff is at and hand this report over. It's super nice. We're seeing that be a intricate part of people's security practices when they hand over for auditing. So you can add the groups from here too. I'll show you groups in just a moment, but this too has a slider page. So when you click on this slider page, you have all your related information. Tells you your SIMs that's attached to this. If there's an active SIM, it'll show you here. If there's an inactive SIM, it'll show you here as well. Again, related groups and automation is a feature that we're getting ready to launch. We have one customer that's a very large customer that is currently using this right now, but we are putting the use cases together for it. And that's a little bit more for mobility, not to be mistaken for mobile. So mobility, meaning your router for your enterprise to run your business. So that's those pieces. I'm being cognizant of time. It is 10:45, so I'm going to go through a couple of these things so we don't get hung up, and then we can have questions if we need them, or if I need to answer questions, we can go through roadmap. Sites is just another great way to go through. And again, for me, this is more for operations or billing. If they want to, look at a site, if they want to decom sites and they need to call out those sites and see the information, and they need to say, hey, Epic IO, we either need to move these or we need to demobilize these sites. These are the ones I choose. They can see it all in one picture. They know that where it's at, and it's just a different view and a different way to audit, again, to give to us. So groups is a feature that was a great addition, came from the ask of some enterprise customers. And this is just a way to organize the data. So you can create a new group at any time, and you can create a group of hardware, or you can create a group of SIMs. And really what this was birthed out of was, we had a very large enterprise customer come to us and say, I have three main issues. I have a massive group of work from home. I have a massive group of deployments that we make to our end users. And then I have a massive IT bench, because they're a large hardware development company. And they said, I have a large IT bench, but I don't even know where half my SIMs are most of the time. I don't know about usage. I don't know about the different places they should be. And I don't know how to retrieve a SIM or shut one down on work from home if somebody is, let go, or just to manage it. So what we did here was we created these groups, and you can create groups for different places. So we tell them, okay, you create this work from home group. So it's just a text group. You put it in there. And what you do is you go to your SIMs and you say, okay, I need to add this to a group. Okay. And I'm going to add this to my work from home group, because they're a work from home. And you say, okay, well, now I have multiple. So I have, so many, I have 100 of them I want to add. You qualify each one it is that are your work from home group. And then you say, okay, I need to add all these, however many you want, to my work from home group for my SIM management. Same with hardware. You could do vice versa. And then that gives, billing or their manager operations to be able to have visibility into what usage it is for that person, right? See what's being used. Is there too much? Is somebody sucking 700, gigs out because their kids are all connected to the router and watching their Bluey cartoons, or they streaming Netflix on there, and it's really just intended purpose for work. You can do the same thing for your tech bench, and you can do the same thing for your end users. The other use case for it is retail came to us and said, I have multiple people in different district areas that need to be able to have accountability for their fiduciary responsibility and knowing what's happening with their SIM usage. So they might have 7 states across the United States. You could lump all those into one. You can make that visible only to them. And then that's their job to make sure that they then are managing what happens there. So then they have to be able to speak to billing on the end to say, hey, this is really the pieces of the puzzle. The other piece, just real quick, on users to go to, we do have user impersonation as well. So if you're a customer admin, you can make those groups, you can assign groups to people, and then you can also add new users. So, and then again, we have the tutorials. So there's not a lot of having to go back and forth with us to have to use new users. The other thing that a customer admin can do, and which I'm doing right now so that I am not in an Epic admin view, is I'm impersonating right now. So you can go in and you can impersonate that user to see exactly what they can see, make sure they have the right usage, and that's how we help you as well. So user impersonation was a good find that we were able to implement, and just to be able to do security validation and check. Anything else you guys think I need to hit on real quick? So while I'm cognizant of time, or that I need to show?
You've covered everything that I use. The groups feature I haven't used yet. That's a nice touch. I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, everything else it's pretty straightforward. You know, like I said in the beginning, it's not it's not like we're breaking new ground here or anything. We're just doing the simple stuff really well that everybody needs. You know, and
Yeah.
so it's extremely valuable. So I appreciate that.
I'm kicking it back to Shannon. She has the last slide or two for the roadmap, just real quick.
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah. So for this, I have to say this is the roadmap. Some of these we've been working on since the end of last quarter. We thought maybe some of them would be deployed. As we all know, technology, you get into some things and there's setbacks. All of these pieces right here are in flight, all of them. So they're all being worked on. Some of them are getting close to launch. As Brett alluded to earlier, billing and payments is going to be the first area that's coming. Additional actions within the hardware to be able to reboot, to be able to do speed tests, retrieve IP addresses, and some regular functionality that we can get out of the API without being able to change any kind of programming. That's coming as well. The critical connectivity integrations, some of our customers, we provide critical connectivity through Frontline and FirstNet. And so those integrations are coming. They were not in there previously. They are on different platforms than our regular, different platforms or plans than our regular SIMs. So those are coming through. White labeling, we're changing the hierarchy, which will change the partner hierarchy management as well. That's going to be a great addition. I'm excited for the partner hierarchy management to come out of it, as I was talking about with Brett earlier, be able to see multiple customers under there. And then let's see what else. The automation module, I touched on that real quick. We're getting the personas ready together for that. And the service hub, and that is about, I don't know, 90% way through being in flight. We are buttoning up some of the back end procedures, but this is where you will be able to activate, deactivate SIMs, request new SIMs for sites. You can suspend, you can request suspension, and do some other actions in there, all from within either your SIMs that are loaded already, or they could also be just be SIMs that you have on hand in order to activate. So we're excited. These things just take a little bit more vetting sometime, as you guys know, going through it. And we always want to minimize the pain on what we're putting out to the end user, because they're your customers. And so whatever we can give them for you after listening to their needs, that's really what we're trying to solve for, is just that cohesiveness of the partnership.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you, Angela. That was a great demo. Just a few things about marketing. We still have marketing in a box kits available. You can co-brand pieces of it through Brand Folder. If you guys haven't used Brand Folder, the link is up here, or just reach out to me directly, Shannon Hilker, and I will help you get access to it. This year, we also have a set of ebooks available. We have created ebooks for POTS replacement, PCN, wireless is primary, and we have a thought leadership piece on SIM versus eSIM. They're short reads. They're not long. They're long form content to a point, but I think they're really great from a thought leadership perspective and helping to help people understand those products. And we're going to make them available. They're available on Brand Folder already, actually, to co-brand. So if anybody would like access to that, please reach out to me or visit Brand Folder if you already know where to go.
And Shannon, those are more content or technology specific, not Epic IO specific, correct?
Correct.
So for our customers and partners to understand the technology and the market versus just promoting Epic IO. Very powerful, I think, for the partners to start evangelizing that and getting familiar with it.
Thank you. Yes. We don't currently have any questions. If anyone has any, if you want to drop them in Q&A. Otherwise, I have one more. We have a new channel manager. Stephanie Call has joined us in the mountain region. We're very excited about that. So if you are in the mountain region, please reach out to her. What about eSIMs? Chad Burnham has asked.
Oh, coming into wireless window?
Yes.
Yes. So that eSIMs are what we're finalizing. We don't see any difference in the way that they come in. We have as long as we're with the carriers, and those are the ones we've turned up, we are still productizing the way that eSIMs are deployed for us right now. So as that's still being productized for them to be deployed, those will come in natively once we start deploying the eSIM.
Wonderful. Patrick, to answer your question, yes, I will be sending the entire recording of the training out next week via email. So keep an eye out for that.
To answer
Any
the
other?
question on eSIM, we do have the ability to provision that on our multi-carrier SIM for mobility and for IoT data, as well as direct carrier SIMs as well.
Yeah.
So from a provisioning perspective, yes, we can. From a deployment and integration perspective is what Angela was talking about, where we're still figuring that piece out. A couple other things that I wouldn't mind touching on if there's no questions, because wireless is awesome. I think we're just scratching the surface, guys. We're getting ready to hit another leg of really outstanding growth with wireless. I get in trouble for talking about this sometimes, but I saw a gig of download speed on my 5G router a couple weeks ago in a very rural area in California. And if a customer qualifies for 5G, we're seeing consistent speeds in the 3, 4, 500 range. That doesn't mean you're going to get that every time. It's still wireless. It's dependent on what the tower is pushing out, where the hardware is placed in the business. But a year or two ago, people were leaning on wireless technology for a very inexpensive insurance policy to keep your point of sale up, to not be hard down, to keep your essential applications up. Today, we're seeing practices that can protect their whole business model with everything being in the cloud. I had a recent customer that let us know that we could expand to all of his locations after doing a test. And the reason was his 30-person contact center failed over and they didn't know it. And that's really the power of 5G versus where we were at with 4G a year or two ago. I really enjoy the difference between partners that are reactive to wireless, which we're thankful for, and partners like Brett and Intellis that have a wireless strategy that see the value in bringing wireless in to their WAN 2 or their backup internet connection or a simultaneous high usage plan, choosing the best path with high availability. The power of 5G is incredible, and we're just scratching the surface. But to see consistent speeds in the 3, 4, 500 range, and to actually see speeds over a gig in an area where it surprised me, I think it's coming. It's here. It can power clinics, banks, practice offices, even contact centers where a partner might not have thought that a year or two ago. So don't sleep on 5G. If you have somebody that's doing SIM only, don't be afraid to bring us that opportunity. We can provide your customer and your partner tools to be able to see that data and act on that data and drive real-time business decisions. And the power of wireless window and where it fits in the ecosystem is it's really, really powerful when you get it in front of the right customers. And we're doing a demo or talking through what their pain points have been in the past. This is a real powerful tool for you to share with your customers.
I agree. Two quick things from my standpoint. One, to validate what Scott's saying is my Club Champion site on more than one occasion has had the broadband providers show up to troubleshoot a circuit that is down, and the retail person has turned them away because the internet's fine. Everything's working fine. We don't need your help because the Epic IO backup SIM is doing what it's supposed to do at the exact same level their broadband was. Unfortunately, that only drives a little bit of usage, and we got to get the broadband carrier to go back out. But what a nice problem to have, you know. Secondly, I've gotten one connection. Steve, thanks for the LinkedIn connection. I'm more than happy to connect with any other peers or partners that are on this call. Help to develop this story, share the story, tell you what works for me, evangelize what we've talked about on the call. I'm a big fan of a high tide raises all boats, and so don't feel like I'm out to steal a customer or not be willing to share my story. I want to help the whole market grow from a partner standpoint. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to set up a time to do a call or a share. And big thanks to Scott and the entire Epic IO team. I really enjoyed being a part of this. So thanks for including me.
Brett, thank you so much for, like giving us the time. Everyone that I've talked to has raved about what a great partner you are with Epic IO. And so we really appreciate you being here today.
Yes.
Feelings mutual. Thank you.
And thank you all for coming. We're going to go ahead and end the webinar now, but we really appreciate you taking a little bit of time to spend with us to learn more about Wireless Window.
Thanks, Shannon.